I was standing right there in the room when you finally collapsed. Stop what you are doing right now and look at me. I saw everything you have endured in total silence. I saw every tear you tried to hide from the world. Do not scroll past this message today. If you walk away now, you will leave behind the exact healing your broken heart has been begging for. You will continue to carry a crushing weight that was never meant for your shoulders. You have carried this alone for longer than anyone knows. My beloved child, I know exactly what happened on that darkest night. I saw you sitting in the dark. You were staring at the floor. You were too tired to even form a prayer in your mind. You simply sat there and let the heaviness press you into the ground. People look at you and see someone who is strong and capable. I look at you and see a silent survivor who is running completely on empty. I am speaking directly to you tonight because there is no version of heaven that ignores the tears of the faithful. I have watched this exact cycle break people 1,000 times, but I am stepping in to end it for you right now. Stay with me for these next few minutes. You will finally understand why I kept silent while you were hurting. You will feel the crushing weight literally lift off your tired bones, and you will learn exactly how to silence the voice in your head that keeps calling you a failure. Do not let the enemy steal this moment of rescue from you. Type AMN if you are ready to let me carry it. Let the world know you are staying. Let me tell you what happens when you wake up every single morning. You open your eyes, and the tightness is already there in your chest. You stand at the sink, and you feel completely drained before the day has even started. You smile for your family. You answer your phone and tell everyone that you are doing perfectly fine. You tell yourself that you are just getting older, or maybe you are just weak. But weakness has absolutely nothing to do with it. Your body is holding onto a grief that your mouth refuses to speak, and that unspoken grief is far heavier than any physical labor. That is only the very first layer of what you are dealing with. The truth beneath it is so much heavier. Do not move from where you are sitting. I have one more thing to tell you about that night you never told anyone about. I will not say it to your back. You have spent years trying to be the strong one for everybody else. When someone else falls apart, you are the first one to rush in and hold the pieces together. But when your own world tilts, you retreat into a quiet room and you swallow your own panic. You never ask for help because you do not want to be a burden to anyone. You think it is your job to fix everything. My child, I know the exact toll that kind of isolation takes on a human soul. I see the way you rehearse conversations in your head before you have them. You manage every single word so that no one will get upset with you. You take the blame for things you did not even do, just to keep the peace in a house that does not appreciate you. That is not peace. That is just you slowly disappearing so that other people can feel comfortable. And you have done it for so long that you do not even remember who you used to be. You sit in your car in the driveway for 10 minutes before you go inside. You turn off the engine and you just stare at the steering wheel. You are trying to gather enough energy to walk through that front door and put the mask back on. No one inside the house knows about those 10 minutes. They only know the version of you that walks in and asks about their day. But I know about those 10 minutes. I have sat in that dark car with you every single time. You are so incredibly tired of being the person who handles everything. You are not tired of your circumstances. You are tired of being the only one who cares enough to keep the walls from caving in. You are absolutely terrified that if you let go for even 1 second, everything you love will crash to the ground. That fear is completely real to you. I am not going to pretend that your fear is small, but I am telling you today that your fear is lying to you. You have built an entire life out of not needing anybody else. You tell yourself that expectations only lead to disappointment, so you simply stopped expecting anyone to show up for you. You learned how to be entirely self-sufficient. But self-sufficiency is a very lonely place to live. It was never my design for you to carry the entire world on your own 2 hands. You were meant to lean on something stronger than yourself. I watched you push through the physical pain when your body was literally screaming for rest. You ignored the warning signs because the people around you needed you to keep functioning. You gave and you gave until your own spirit was completely hollowed out, and then you felt guilty for feeling empty. Please hear me tonight. You do not owe the universe an apology for reaching your limit. Your breaking point is not a sin. It is a sign that you are human. I know the exact thought that is moving through you right now. You are thinking that someone simply wrote these words. Someone recorded them, and this is just another voice on the internet trying to make you feel better. I am not offended by that thought. I made the careful part of you that asks it. Your caution is an armor you earned honestly. You have been promised things before by people who just wanted something from you. They handed you empty hope and left you to clean up the mess. A person who was sold a false cure is no fool for reading the label twice. I do not need you to believe me instantly today. I only need you to stay and listen. Notice what happened in your chest a moment ago. You did not decide to feel that sudden warmth. Let us look at the deep isolation you have built around yourself. You have convinced yourself that no one can handle your darkness, so you hide the tears when they start to fall. You wipe your face quickly before anyone walks into the room. You smile and ask about their day while you are bleeding inside. You think that keeping your pain a secret is protecting your family. You believe that if you break down, the whole house will completely fall apart. But keeping a secret does not make the pain disappear. It only makes the pain echo louder inside your own mind. And you have lived inside that echoing room for years. You have become a master at performing your own life. People admire your resilience, but they have absolutely no idea what it costs you. I want to talk about what happens when the performance stops. You wake up in the middle of the night for absolutely no reason. Your jaw is clenched, your hands are completely tight, and you cannot figure out why your body feels so defensive when the house is totally quiet. You tell yourself you are just stressed about tomorrow. You blame it on a bad night of sleep. You have said those exact words to yourself so many times. My beloved child, that is not the truth. You are not just stressed, you are overflowing. The vessel can only hold so much water before the pressure begins to crack the glass. Your body is keeping a strict record of everything your heart refused to set down. Grief that is never spoken aloud does not just vanish into thin air. It relocates into your muscles. It moves into your stomach. I am going to name this so you can finally see it clearly. This is the unspoken weight. It is sitting in your bones right now. It is the reason you feel utterly exhausted before you even get out of bed in the morning. You have been carrying the heavy ghost of every conversation you never got to finish. You do not have to carry it for the next 5 minutes. Breathe out right now while you are listening. Let your tight shoulders drop. Let the defensive posture go for just a moment. Type the words, "I will not hide the tears," to agree with me. To agree with me. Put those words down in your own hand in the comments. Do it not because I asked, but because you have never once been allowed to say them. You have earned the right to finally admit that it hurts. The tears you have been swallowing are not a sign of defeat. They are the evidence that you have loved deeply. Before we go any further, I need you to understand something crucial. You have judged yourself so harshly for feeling disconnected from me. You thought that my silence meant I had walked away. That is a lie you learned from a world that throws people away when they are broken. I do not throw my children away. The fact that you are sitting here proves that I have never stopped pursuing you. Your quiet endurance is exactly what drew my attention to you. What you have been calling your strength is not actually strength at all. It is a thick wall. You built that wall to survive a terrible season where nobody showed up for you. You learned that if you did not protect yourself, nobody else would do it, and the wall did its job perfectly. You survived the storm. You kept everyone else in your life safe from the wind. But a wall that keeps the pain from getting out also keeps the healing from getting in. You are trapped inside your own protection. You are suffocating behind the very shield that saved your life 10 years ago. I am telling you this because there is no version of heaven that ignores the tears of the faithful. I saw you endure every single minute of it. You stood your ground when no one was watching, and you never demanded a reward. Because of that quiet obedience, everything is about to change. I am not just going to comfort you today. Comfort is what you give to someone who has to stay in the pain. I am moving you out of the isolation of your own strength and into the rest of my covering. You are not meant to die on this battlefield. You will no longer carry the temperature of the entire room. You will be carried. But before I can lift the heavy armor off your chest, you have to realize that you are wearing it. The silence you have been living in was never a sign of your bravery. It was a sign of your deep exhaustion. And exhaustion is not a permanent identity. It is just a temporary state that is coming to a complete end. I will show you how that ending begins. Let us look at the automatic response you give whenever people ask how you are actually doing today. You give them a small smile. You tell them you are doing perfectly fine, and you quickly change the subject to focus on their problems, because solving their issues is much easier than facing your own empty cup. You do not want anyone to see the cracks forming in your foundation. You make sure your house looks completely peaceful from the outside. You have become an absolute expert at managing the temperature of every single room you walk into. If someone is angry, you become the calm peacemaker. If someone is falling apart, you become the solid rock. If you are 10, but when you are the one falling apart, you retreat into the bathroom and you run the water. You run it loud enough to drown out your own quiet sobbing. You cry silently so nobody outside the door will hear you. You wash your face and walk back out like nothing happened. You have a very specific name for this defensive behavior. You call it being resilient. You tell yourself that being strong is just your natural role in the family. You believe that keeping your struggles a secret is the ultimate act of profound love, and you think you are protecting the people you care about from carrying your heavy burdens. My child, that is a noble lie you have been telling yourself for decades. I need you to hear me clearly today. That quiet endurance is not actually strength at all. It is a defense mechanism that you learned a very long time ago. You learned early on that people get uncomfortable when things get messy, so you decided you would never be messy. You decided you would always be the reliable one. You chose to carry it all so you would never be abandoned. The truth is going to shift everything you understand about yourself. Being the strong one is not your permanent personality. It is a place where you hide. When you handle everything perfectly, no one is allowed to criticize your efforts. When you never ask for help, no one ever gets the chance to reject your needs. Your intense competence is actually a thick shield. I am going to give this pattern a name so you can clearly see it. This is the polished hiding place. It looks beautiful to everyone standing on the outside, but it is an incredibly dark and lonely place to live on the inside. You built it to survive a season where vulnerability was completely unsafe, and that brilliant shelter truly saved your life back then. But a shelter that you never leave eventually becomes a very small prison. You are trapped inside the walls of your own flawless reputation. The people around you do not know how to help you because you have thoroughly convinced them that you never need help. You trained them to believe you are entirely made of steel. I want you to look back at the past 10 years of your life. Think about every major crisis you carried completely alone. The financial scares, the long nights you spent worrying about a child. You told yourself you were just being brave and protecting your household. You were not being brave, beloved. You were protecting a massive fear of becoming a burden. You believed that if you showed them how tired you really were, they would finally walk away from you. You thought your worth was permanently tied to your usefulness, so you kept being useful. You kept producing solutions and offering steady hands. You paid for their comfort with your own inner peace. I saw the terrible price it extracted from your soul. I saw it all. Every time you swallowed a plea for help, a tiny piece of your spirit went completely numb. You cannot selectively numb your heart. When you numb the painful feelings, you also accidentally numb the joyful ones. That is exactly why you have felt so incredibly hollow lately. You are entirely safe behind your thick walls, but you are also completely starved for genuine connection. The season for hiding behind your own strength is officially over. The war ended a long time ago, but you are still standing guard at the door. I am not asking you to suddenly fall apart in front of a crowded room. I am not asking you to explain your deep exhaustion to people who will never understand it. I am asking for something much smaller and much more profound. I want you to find a quiet room in your house tonight. Close the door behind you, sit down on the floor, and take a deep breath. And I want you to say one true sentence out loud to me. Tell me that you are incredibly tired. Tell me that you do not want to be the strong one today. You do not need to use beautiful words. Just tell me the raw truth. That one honest sentence is the key that unlocks the heavy door. When you finally admit your weakness, the heavy armor begins to crack. You do not have to perform for heaven. I already know the chaotic mess you are trying to hide, and I love you exactly as you are. I love the exhausted version of you far more than the polished version you present to the world. Just let me hold you. I am waiting for you in that quiet room. I am not bringing judgment or a new set of instructions. I am bringing a safe place for you to finally rest your tired head. You have carried everyone else for so many years. Now it is time for you to let me carry you. Drop the heavy shield tonight. You are entirely safe here. Before I explain why the room went quiet, I want to show you the destination. Remember the polished hiding place I just named for you. I want you to see the beautiful life that exists completely outside of it. Come with me to an ordinary morning about 6 months from now, when the heavy winter of your soul has finally passed. You wake up before the sun rises. The house is entirely quiet. Your feet hit the floor without any heavy dread in your chest. You do not run through a mental list of everyone you need to please today, because you have finally learned that your worth is not tied to their constant approval. The tightening behind your ribs is completely gone. You sip your hot coffee, and you are just breathing. You are not managing anyone else's volatile emotions. You are not bracing for an incoming disaster, and the deep silence in the room does not terrify you anymore. That version of you is not a distant fantasy. She is completely real. She is already standing on the exact other side of this heavy season. The profound distance between you and that beautiful morning is not time, but rather a simple permission that you have been terrified to grant yourself. Permission is something you must finally grant to yourself out loud. Say it tonight in your quiet room. The morning I just showed you will start walking toward you. Now we must deal with the empty chairs in your life. We must address the people who left you alone in the dark. I know exactly what happened during your hardest week last year. You finally needed someone to hold the walls up for you. You looked around the room and the room was entirely empty. The friends you had carried for decades suddenly had urgent excuses, and they faded into the background when the storm actually hit your house. You sat on the edge of your bed and stared at your glowing phone. You wondered why your profound loyalty was always a one-way street. You swallowed your bitter tears and you just handled the crisis completely alone because you felt entirely foolish for ever trusting them to stay. The isolation you felt in that exact moment was sharper than the crisis itself. You promised yourself you would never trust anyone again. You have drawn a very cruel conclusion from their sudden exit. You told yourself that you are just incredibly easy to abandon. You decided that you expect way too much from ordinary people. You told yourself that you are simply meant to go through this heavy life completely unsupported. My beloved child, none of those terrible thoughts are true. You did not demand too much. You just asked the wrong people. You have been reading the list of those who left completely wrong. You treat every missing person as a massive personal failure on your part. Turn that mental list over right now. They did not leave because you lacked value or because you were broken, but because they were never built to withstand the heavy winds of your particular storm. They loved the polished version of you. They could not handle the messy reality. I am going to name this dynamic so you never blame yourself for it again. This is the false armor. You wrapped yourself in relationships that looked incredibly sturdy in the bright sunshine. But false armor will always shatter the moment a real battle begins. I did not cause them to abandon you out of cruelty. I allowed them to walk away because I needed to expose the brittle metal before it killed you in the middle of the battle. Look back at those empty rooms with entirely new eyes today. You were not being rejected by those people. You were being deeply protected by me. If you had leaned on those fragile relationships during the crisis, they would have broken immediately and taken you down to the ground with them. I cleared the room so you would not fall. I removed the false armor before the heaviest blow landed. The people who walked away were never your permanent foundation. They were just passing guests in your house. And guests always leave when the roof requires serious repairs. Your surviving the collapse alone was not a tragic accident. It was the absolute proof that you possess a strength they could never match. You stood your ground. I held the foundation steady beneath your tired feet. You survived. Here is the single step I am asking you to take tonight. I want you to stop counting the empty chairs at your table. Stop staring at the door they walked out of. Take a deep breath and quietly bless their exit. Their departure made room for something so much stronger to enter your life. You do not need a sincere apology from them to move forward. You only need to release the bitter resentment you hold. Say it out loud before you go to sleep tonight. Say that you release the ones who could not stay. When you finally stop punishing yourself for their profound inability to love you, the heavy chains will completely fall off your tired wrists. You will step into tomorrow completely unburdened. The real armor is already waiting for you, and it is forged in a holy fire that will never ever fade. You are beautifully defended. Let us look closely at your physical exhaustion today. You sleep for 8 solid hours, but you wake up and your bones still feel like absolute lead. You drag yourself out of bed and the fatigue is already sitting heavily on your chest before you even move. You are exhausted even when you are supposedly resting. And you constantly wonder why your vital energy never seems to return. You have a very harsh explanation for this profound tiredness. You tell yourself that you are just becoming lazy and undisciplined. You think your faith is shrinking because you cannot keep up the frantic pace of your life. You look at other people and you wonder why they handle their daily struggles so much better than you do. My child, you are profoundly wrong about your own soul. Your weariness does not come from the actual work I gave you. Your exhaustion comes entirely from the massive weight I never assigned you. You carry your grown child's reckless decisions, and you try to maintain the fragile peace of a house that refuses to be peaceful. I am calling this the borrowed load. It is slowly crushing you to dust. You haul the heavy bags of everyone around you every single day. You carry another person's toxic anger the way a man carries water in his bare hands. It soaks you completely and you never actually reach the intended destination. No human frame was designed to carry the emotional consequences of someone else's poor choices. You are breaking under a terrible debt that is not yours. Look back at those long years you have called your failing years. You were not failing at all. You were hauling massive loads for ungrateful people. Every morning you woke up and picked up heavy burdens that belonged entirely to other people. You were never weak or lazy, beloved. You were incredibly loaded down, and a loaded soul that keeps walking is absolutely faithful. I want you to do one small thing for me today. Ask yourself one honest question before you rush in to fix another unavoidable crisis. Did heaven actually hand you this specific problem to solve? If the answer is no, then set it down immediately. Set it down without a big speech and without any lingering apology. Putting down what I never gave you is not abandonment. It is obedience. There is a holy precedent for this kind of total exhaustion. A great prophet once watched spectacular fire fall directly from the sky. He experienced a massive spiritual victory that changed the entire nation. And just days later, he was lying under a small desert shrub, begging me to gently end his life. That is exactly how deep exhaustion works on a completely faithful heart. It does not wait for a terrible and humiliating defeat. It arrives right after the hard victory, when the physical body finally presents its heavy bill. He was completely drained of all human hope. He told me he was the only one left, and he could not take another painful step forward. I want you to pay very close attention to what I did next. I did not rebuke his lack of faith. I did not remind him of his great prophetic calling. I did not demand that he stand up and be stronger for my kingdom. I simply let him sleep. I sent nourishing food to him in the desert, and then I let him sleep again. Only after his broken body had been tenderly cared for did I finally speak. And I spoke in a whisper so quiet he had to stop moving to hear it. My beloved child, you are lying under that exact same tree today. You are so tired that even good news feels incredibly heavy to your mind. You feel completely guilty for wanting to just close your eyes and quit the fight entirely. I am not disappointed in you. Your deep fatigue is not a spiritual failure. It is the natural result of fighting relentlessly in the dark trenches. Rest is not the cowardly opposite of genuine faith. Sleep is a holy and necessary provision for a wounded soldier. Eat your food and breathe the fresh air, and stop trying to save the entire world today. I will not raise my voice to reach you right now. I am sitting right here under the shade of this desert tree with you. I am not going anywhere at all while you slowly recover. You have fought a magnificent battle in total silence for years. You have held the difficult line when every other person abandoned their post and went home. Now it is time for the weary warrior to finally put down the heavy sword. Let the healing quiet wash over your exhausted mind. The noise of this demanding world has absolutely no authority over your spirit in this sacred hour. I am wrapping my steady presence around your tired shoulders like a thick blanket. You do not have to perform or produce or protect anyone right now. Just let the solid earth hold your weight. Let my gentle grace fill the hollow places in your aching chest. You are entirely safe in this desert place because I have commanded the desert to protect you. Your profound weariness is fully recognized in the courts of heaven. Every painful step you took when you wanted to quit was recorded in my book. The recovery will happen exactly the same way the exhaustion did. It will happen one quiet moment at a time. Stay right here with me. The healing you have desperately prayed for is already arriving. You have rested under the desert tree for a moment. Your heavy breathing has finally started to slow down. Now I need you to stand up in your spirit and look directly at the thing you have been avoiding. Look at your own profound and silent suffering. You have told yourself that heaven is completely blind to the terrible pain you swallow every single day. You think I demand flawless and constant performance. You mistakenly believe that your tears are a sign of failure. You have spent years apologizing for the beautiful and sensitive heart I placed inside your chest when I formed you. Stop apologizing for your deep wounds today. Your silent agony is entirely visible to my eyes. You have never been invisible to me. I am going to tell you a massive truth today. This is the exact reason I brought you to this message. When my son looked down at the crushing load you carry, he did not demand that you try harder. He did not offer a polite and distant lecture. Jesus actually wept over your entire life. He saw what you endured, and it broke his holy heart. He did not weep because you are weak. He knows exactly how incredibly strong your spirit really is. He wept because he saw a beautiful child of God carrying a brutal weight that was never assigned to them. You have endured the unforgivable and cruel actions of other people. You quietly absorbed their toxic anger and their constant neglect. You took their broken pieces and you carried them. You desperately tried to heal deep wounds you did not create. And when you inevitably collapsed under that stolen weight, you actually blamed yourself for not being strong enough to fix it. That is exactly why the tears fell from heaven. You were violently punishing yourself for a stolen burden. I am ending that vicious cycle right now. I am not just offering you gentle comfort today. I am completely revoking the unauthorized agreement you made with the darkness when you were too tired to fight back. You are not the appointed savior of your family. You do not have to magically fix their brokenness anymore. I am releasing you from that terrible job. Picture the heavy stones you carry in your tired hands. Every single stone has a different person's name written on it. One is the massive guilt of a past mistake, and another is the constant worry about your grown children. You hold them so tightly that your knuckles have turned completely white. Drop every single stone right now. Let them hit the floor. I command you to release this false responsibility. It is actively destroying your physical and mental health. Every moment you stay here is adding to what I am miraculously rebuilding in your tired soul today. Do not walk away from this holy surgery. The painful extraction is happening right this second. Your willingness to listen is giving me room to work. There is a room in your future that is entirely different. I have seen you sitting in that beautiful room surrounded by the people you love. You throw your head back and laugh a genuine and deep laugh, and you are not bracing for the next terrible disaster to strike. Your breathing is completely slow and steady. You are finally safe inside your own mind. That peaceful evening is walking toward you right now. But there is one thing I have not given you yet. I have been holding it back on purpose. It would have meant absolutely nothing to you an hour ago when you were still covered in heavy armor. It has a very specific name today. I call it the last thing I kept. It is the final piece of your total restoration. You will not receive it right now. You will not receive it in the next few minutes. I am going to place it at the very end of this message, after everything else has been settled and quieted. A sacred thing like that requires complete and absolute silence. Do not leave before I hand it over to you. I put it last for a very important reason. The tears of heaven are not just a poetic symbol. They are a profound and active rescue mission. When Jesus wept over your profound exhaustion, those holy tears washed away the invisible chains binding your wrists. You are officially pardoned from the heavy lifting. You are free to simply be my child. You can finally stop trying to earn your place. People will eventually notice the massive shift in you. They will wonder why you stopped running to their rescue. Let them keep their false version of the story, where you are the one who suddenly stopped caring about them. You were never asked to carry their account of your life. You are only responsible for your own peaceful soul. Let them manage their own heavy loads. Notice what is happening in your chest right now. Your tired heart is beating with a completely new rhythm. That sudden lightness is not a trick of your imagination, but the actual removal of a generational curse. It officially stops in your house today. You are the absolute last one carrying it. Do not pick it back up tomorrow. Let us confront the deepest wound you carry today. There is a specific prayer you have completely stopped praying. You still say the polite words at night, but you took your heavy heart out of them a long time ago. You sit in your room and you wonder why your desperate pleas bounce right off the empty ceiling. You feel utterly abandoned by heaven. You wonder where I went. You have drawn a terrible conclusion from my quietness. You told yourself that my silence means I finally walked away from you. You believe I am actively punishing you for some forgotten mistake. You think your painful tears are just invisible to my eyes. My beloved child, none of that is the truth. I have never once turned my back on your intense suffering or your lonely days. Silence and refusal are absolutely not the same thing. The human heart struggles to tell them apart, so it fills the quiet space with massive fear. But listen to what actually happens in a waiting season. Between the desperate asking and the final arriving, there is a profound work being done. The work is not on your external circumstances. The work is entirely on the vessel. I am naming this season right now so you can finally understand it. This is the unfinished, yes. Now look back over the lonely years you called completely abandoned. You were not being ignored in those dark rooms. You were being deeply formed by my hands. If I had handed you the massive blessing earlier, it would have completely crushed you under its incredible and heavy weight. The waiting was never empty of my presence. You simply could not see me working because I was working directly on your foundation. My silence was never my absence. What you called my harsh refusal was actually the very covering that saved your life. I held the heavy door shut so you could survive the vicious storm. I knew exactly what you needed to endure the coming days. Every time you chose to trust me anyway, I saw it. Every time you wiped your tired face and kept walking, I saw it. None of it went unwitnessed. Not one single hour of your pain was wasted in my sight. Hear me where you make your vital decisions. You were never abandoned. You were fiercely protected. Look closely at the incredibly strong spirit that survived the raging fire. Now that you have received this truth, I must tell you what comes next. I will not send you out of this room without telling you about the dangerous road ahead. Tomorrow morning you will wake up, and the old habits will immediately call your name. The noise of the world will try to convince you that this holy moment was just an emotional illusion. Do not believe that empty lie. The enemy loves to use your familiar routines to steal your new freedom. There is a massive cost to spending another year living in the old way. No one will send you an invoice for it. The terrible price is paid quietly in the beautiful things you stop expecting. If you go back to carrying everyone else, you will completely lose the profound peace I just handed to you tonight. I am not warning you about a loud and obvious monster today. I am warning you about your own quiet habits. You must fiercely guard the sacred relief you feel in your chest right now. When the urge to fix everything rises up again, you have to actively resist it. Do not let the familiar guilt drag you back into the heavy chains. You have officially crossed over the threshold. We are approaching the very end of this holy encounter, but remember the sacred thing I told you about earlier. The last thing I kept is still waiting safely in my hands. It is handed over on the exact other side of my final blessing. Do not set your phone down just yet. What comes next might sound like a closing farewell, but it is actually a vital doorway to your healing. I am not asking you for anything difficult tonight. There is no impossible ledger between us, and there never has been. I am asking you to participate because a truth that stays hidden inside you can still be argued with. But a truth you have boldly written down cannot be argued with quite so easily. I want you to plant a firm flag in the ground before this night is truly over. Right now you are someone who just heard this comforting message. In a few moments you can become someone who actually declares their own healing. Those are two entirely different people. The second person is much harder to defeat when the morning challenges arrive. I want you to claim your freedom out loud. I want you to put your own beautiful name on this total restoration. I have said everything I came to say about your heavy burdens. What happens next is a choice you must make for yourself. put your hands on these powerful words and make them permanently yours. Not because it magically seals a spell or unlocks a secret vault. You must do it because you need to read it back one day and recognize your own victorious voice. The wait is finally over. You must be completely vigilant about the quiet moments tomorrow. The loud world will try to hand the heavy baggage right back to you, and people will bring you their chaotic emergencies while expecting you to be the solid wall again. Do not let them do it. You have officially resigned from the exhausting job of managing everyone else. Protect your profound peace fiercely. If you slip up and try to fix things tomorrow, do not punish yourself. Just drop the heavy bag the exact moment you realize you picked it up. My grace is absolutely abundant for this difficult transition, because I know exactly how hard it is to change a habit that saved your life. Now come closer to me than you usually let yourself come. The difficult teaching is completely finished today. What is left is just between the two of us. I am lowering my voice for this last sacred part. This is not another strict instruction for you to follow. It is a holy blessing for your tired soul. You came into this room carrying something you had stopped noticing you were even carrying, and you are absolutely not walking out with it tonight. I am taking it entirely from your hands and burying it in the deepest ocean. Remember the specific promise I made to you earlier in this sacred hour. I told you about a final piece of total restoration that I was holding back. I called it the last thing I kept. The time has finally arrived to place it directly into your open hands, because you are finally ready to receive it without arguing. It is the absolute assurance that heaven has already validated your entire lonely journey. You spent your entire life wondering if you were simply overreacting to the intense pain. The last thing I kept is the beautiful truth that you were incredibly accurate. Your deep suffering was totally real, and it was horribly unfair. When my son wept over your long endurance, he was writing a permanent record of your absolute innocence. You are fully vindicated. That profound vindication changes exactly how you will walk into tomorrow morning. You do not have to explain your firm boundaries to anyone ever again. You do not have to prove your severe exhaustion to people who refuse to open their blind eyes. The holy creator of the universe has already reviewed your heavy case, and I have ruled completely in your favor. Because you faithfully stood your ground when no one was watching, you are totally free. I am moving you out of the cold isolation of your own strength and into the warm rest of my divine covering. Come, you will no longer carry the emotional temperature of the entire room. You will be completely carried, and this beautiful freedom will not just stop with your own life. Somebody in your family line will live completely differently because of what you refuse to pass down. The heavy generational chain is officially broken in your living room today. You are the faithful one who finally stopped the vicious cycle of silent suffering, and your quiet obedience has literally changed the future of your bloodline. Let that profound truth settle deep into your tired bones right now. The long and bitter war is completely over. I have said everything I came to say to you. What remains is what I have always wanted to tell you from the very beginning. You are deeply loved, and you are incredibly safe in my arms. I want you to beautifully seal this moment before you step back into your daily life. Leave one powerful phrase below in the comments to prove that you stayed until the very end. Type the words, "I am healed," and leave this place so much lighter than you arrived. Put those exact words down in your own handwriting to finalize the holy transaction. I read what my children write. When you type those words, you are boldly telling the darkness that it has completely lost its grip on your beautiful mind. You are declaring your own permanent rescue. Now go in absolute peace. Walk out of this place like someone who finally belongs. I am with you forever.